Iowa State, in Iowa, and they were commenting on the different ethnicities on our team, and some of the things they were saying were a little bit ignorant.
I've had a lot of white people not even knowing that I was half black. They just had no idea. They just have this perception of what a black person is and how they're going to talk and how they're going to dress and how they're going to act.
Some people ask me, like actually yesterday I got asked by a friend if I was, and I said that I was, and he goes, "Oh, I already knew that."
And that wasn't a huge problem because I had other friends, but once in a while I'd kind of feel distant from like my other cousins on my dad's side because, you know, I didn't act the way they thought I should.
They'll ask me if like who's white and who's black in my parents' relationship, and I usually just answer like confidently, and I never shy away from it at all.
For me, it's sort of frustrating in like history classes, especially American history, because basically a lot of minorities, including women, are left out in that category, or they're talked about for a week or maybe a month if we're lucky.
In my ethics class, we talked about, actually Professor Squires was there, professor of diversity, you know, and we were talking about African Americans and their portrayal in cinema. And one woman said, she was white, she said, well, African Americans, like, I feel like they like degradation, and it's like very much a part of their culture. And I'm quoting this, and she's like, I feel like they like degradation and violence. And I was just so surprised at her, and I thought, really? You're going into journalism, and this is the mindset that you have?
I know some schools, their social study classes sort of focus on basically white American males.
I mean, I'm glad that she was able to share that because I'd rather have her share that and someone would correct her for it. But then no one did correct her for that. I think Professor Squires was so shocked and she didn't want to embarrass her, so she didn't say anything, and I felt like I would attack her verbally, so I didn't say anything and no one else did, and there was just this painful silence and everyone just looked around at each other and then we just moved on.
There's a girl on our team that she's Sri Lankan, and they thought she was, first they thought she was black, and then they're like, I think she's Hindu. And I'm like, okay, that's a religion. I mean, I don't understand. I think they were a little confused.
Whenever anyone asks me, where are you from, I always automatically think that they mean, like, what's your ethnicity? And so sometimes people will ask me, really wanting to know if I'm from Plymouth or Minneapolis or Brooklyn Park or whatever, and I'll answer with my race or ethnicity, and they're like, no, that's not what I meant.
Definitely living in a city made me feel more comfortable being who I am.
It's not like it changed, like I was around people of all different backgrounds before, and then all of a sudden I went to college and it was all white people. So, I mean, it really hasn't changed just because I grew up here.
People honestly can look at me, and most of the time they know that I'm biracial, so they pretty much assume that I am.
If I were to live in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota or Wisconsin or Iowa, I couldn't see myself living in an environment like that because I would feel like I have to explain myself or just deal with ignorant comments.
Because I grew up here, it hasn't really changed. I mean, I'm around a lot more people from the suburbs, which that is really hard sometimes.
I like the diversity here. I mean, it could be better. I guess you can say that with any school, really, but there's just so many different kinds of people here made up of different races, and it's just really exciting to see other people who are like you or different from you.
I know St. Thomas does a good job of like making sure, like the multicultural student services do a good job of like making sure that the students of color have like a mentor, someone to look up to in each field.
I think we really try to like open a door of learning about different people.
I guess that's only happened with people from the suburbs just because they don't, you know, they have this idea of what, like I said, what a black person is, what they see on TV. So that's, I don't know, I guess that's probably been my only problem with it since coming to college. But even if I didn't go to college, I'd face it somewhere else.
My dad's side of the family, my mom's side of the family, they're very separate because my mom's side of the family is in New Orleans and my dad's side's in like Nebraska.
My mom's white and my dad's black. So my grandparents on my mom's side they were very racist when my parents got together, And my dad's side was more like angry, like, well, what are you doing with this white woman?
At my mom's funeral, they had interaction together. And it's like, I feel like my white side of the family really tries to be like warming and welcoming and things like that, but realistically, I don't know how much they accept my black side of the family.
And so my parents kind of like ran away together. And when they got together, and then once they started having children, then, you know, of course our grandparents and stuff were like, oh, well, accepting of like the kids and stuff. But my grandparents never ever accepted, my mom's side never accepted my dad.
I would say my black side of the family has not been as like warm and welcoming, specifically like to my dad and things like that. Not necessarily because he's white, but, you know, because of his own actions. But my dad always plays a white card.
My mom got credit. Like, I know, like, when we would go to, like, my dad's side of the family, they would be like, oh, good, you did their hair good. Like, they were more concerned of, like, maybe like, our appearance, like, how we acted. They didn't want us to be, like, quote-unquote, whitewashed.
I think sometimes what like white people, Caucasian, you know, whatever you want to say, what they come across is trying too hard, you know, to like impress them and make them feel like, well, I'm not racist or anything like that.
Neither side really understood like how to meet in the middle, so like how our hair texture would be, or like how we take care of our skin or something, because products used for like my dad's side didn't always work for us, and products for mom's side wouldn't always work for us.
It has been like a friction, you know, between the races, but and it also has other factors, but yeah, there hasn't been that melting together.
Our parents really did play into it a lot, because I know like our grandparents would be like, well, my mom's side would be like, time out, well, why do you always have our hair just pulled back in a ponytail, or why do you, like, you know, or asking why, and mom's like, that's all like we're gonna really do with her hair, you know, it's all I really know how to do.
My grandparents don't really approve of it, and they kind of think that, I mean, they love me because I'm in their family, but they just don't agree with having mixed races together and having children. They just don't, both sides of my family, my white grandma and my black grandma, don't agree with it at all.
I think it's probably like the generation they grew up with, and they know like mixing races wasn't really accepted.
But it's just something that I think they've learned to deal with, because our society is just evolving and changing over time.
Just handling issues are a lot different.
My parents, you know, are more, like, I know a lot of Indian parents are more go into medicine, go into law, go into business, go into computers, go into something like that. And so journalism seems to them not as respectable, because it's like, oh, you want to be a TV news anchor? Like, they don't have a lot of respect for TV news anchor people.
On one side of my family, it's very like, let's sit down and let's talk about this and be very, or maybe, I don't know, if two people had a problem, one person would like write a letter or write an email or something. But on my other side of the family, it's like, let's talk about it right now. Let's just get it out in the open. Let's talk about this. Let's really, you know, see each other, where we're coming from.
I'm also one of the darkest people in my family, and so just I don't even know how it happened, because like some people in my family are really light and some people are really, like, I think I'm the darkest. Ever since I was little, my aunts would give me like skin bleaching creams, and they'd say like, oh, you would look so much prettier if you were fair skinned, or when I was your age I used to look as dark as you, but now look, see how nice and fair my skin is.
Cuisine is very different.
It's been cool. I don't ever remember any tension or issues or anything like that. I mean, everyone's cordial, we all get along, and we like to have a good time.
My mom and dad get along really well. Actually, my parents are not together, so for them not to be together, my parents get along great.
It wasn't a problem for me, because my mom accepted me, and my sister, my older sister, she's, you know, all black, and she's grown up with us. She was there before I was even born, and she's my full sister, to me anyway. Like, there's no half sisters with that.
They are able to get along, and they're able to support me in what I do, and I mean, they've been great throughout my whole life, even though they haven't been together. They separated when I was 5.
You'll see someone, you know, you'll see people, but yeah, they don't really interact. But I know that whenever I go to my dad's side of the family, they stress a lot how much I look like my mom, or my mom's side of the family. And then I'll go to my mom's side of the family, and then my aunts there will say, oh, you look like your dad, or your dad's side of the family. So it's awesome that they always see me they always see the difference in me.
Over the past few years, I've become closer with my black side of the family, who's Creole, and they really are very strong on their traditions.